ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨਾ ਜਾਨਾ ਨਾਹਿਨ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਕੈ ਅੰਚਲ ਲਾਵਹੁ ਵਿਖਮ ਨਦੀ ਜਾਇ ਤਰਨੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾਰ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ तेरे जोर मैं गूंगा कहता हूँ तेरा सदका तेरी शरण
सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु साहिब जी हुक्मी होवन आकार हुक्म न कहया जाई हुक्मी होवन जीव हुक्म मिलै वड्याई हुक्मी उत्तम नीच हुक्म लेख दुख सुख पाइये एक ना हुक्मी बख्शीस एक हुक्मी सदा भवाइये हुक्म अंदर सब को बाहर हुक्म ना कोय नानक हुक्म जे बुझै ता हौमै कह ना कोय हुक्मी होवन आकार हुक्म न कहया जाई वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह।
ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦਸਾਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋਤ ਭਗਤ ਵਤਸਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਖਜ਼ਾਨੇ ਜੋਤ ਰੂਪ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸਾਜੀ ਨਵਾਜੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ we gathered here today to listen to the second body of Sri Japji Sahib. The first week we listened to the Mool Mantar and the meaning, the Mahatma of Japji Sahib. The second week, the first body from Socha Sochna Ho Gai. We understood that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji on their travels used to meet the ascetics, the Siddhs, who would question Sadguru Sahib Ji about the meaning of life. And last time we heard how there are 4 types of actions of how they thought they could achieve liberation are not worthwhile, and that understanding the hukam and walking in the way of Wahegurus in their order, that is the only way we can find liberation. So from there, the Sid's next question was, if the way, walking in the way of the hukam is the way to find liberation, then why don't you tell us about the hukam, tell us about that order, tell us about the will. We also last week heard how our actions, how our karma are linked to the hukam, are linked to how the order, the will of Waheguru works. So this week, the whole body, the second body, is about that order and about that hukam. And Sadhguru Sahib Ji expanded on the hukam in the following way.
Satnam Sri Waheguru Sahib Ji, Hukmi Hovan Akar, Hukam na Kahya Jai.
Well, the first thing Sadhguru Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said to the Siddhs, he said that you're asking about the hukam, but hukam na kahya jai. Nobody can talk about this hukam. No one can expand on it because it's infinite. Just like Waheguru themselves are infinite, if you try to talk about it, you try to describe it, you won't find an end to it. And then the Siddhs ask Sadhguru Sahib Ji, well, if you won't be able to tell it, if there's no end to it, surely there must be some understanding of the hukam, and please enlighten us how it works. Sadhguru Sahib Ji said, Hukmi hovan akar. Akar is like a form. So in that order, in that command, akar, the form of this world of creation, is created. So this creation was in the command, the will of Waheguru. He had his, Waheguru Ji, in his own thinking, decided to create everything. And it was in that will, in that order, that akar, this form, was created.
Hukmi Hovan Ji, Hukam Milai Vadai.
And then within creation, Hukmi Hovan Ji. Ji is like, we can say, our soul. And Hukmi Hovan. So after creating this form, Hukmi Hovan Akar, Waheguru Ji decided that within these worlds, they are going to create life in 8.4 million forms. And within each one of those lives, they placed a soul, they placed that Ji. So it's within that hukam, within that will of Waheguru, that life developed, because the soul was put in from Waheguru. Hukam milai vadiyai, and from there, vadiyai means fame. One translation of vadiyai means fame. So in the order, in that will, then those life forms gained fame. So they gained fame of being able to complete their own actions. So Sadhguru Sahib Ji, in the first, let's say, translation, describes those first two lines in that way. That if we look deeper in those, if we look deeper, what could it also mean?
Hukmi Hovan Akar, Hukam na Kahya Jai.
Akar, if we think deeper, form. Okay, Waheguru Ji has a form, Hana? Although their form is timeless, like we learned in the Mool Mantar, Akal Murat, their form is timeless, they still have a form. If we follow their command, so we can take this message in this way, if we think deeper. If we think that Waheguru Ji, as well as having the way that this world turns and the way that creation works, that is the will, that is the order. But at the same time, in the embodiment of the 10 Gurus and now in the form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Guruji has given us some commands. He's given the Sikhs orders. Orders different to maybe orders that we get at work, orders that we get at school, orders we get from our parents. They've given us a command to follow in which we can gain liberation. If we follow that command, Hukmi Hovan Akar, we become that form, Akar. What form do we become? We can become the form of Waheguru. In other words, we gain liberation, we become one with Waheguru themselves. So thinking deeper, we can think if we follow the command of Waheguru, we can become their form. What is the command of Waheguru? Waheguru's command, well, in the Ratname, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji's teachings were written in pothiyan called the Raitname by various Sikhs, and one famous line from those is Pritham Rahati Yeh Jaan Khande Ki Pahal Shake. Soi Singh Pardhan Avar Na Pahal Jol Hai. So Sadguru Sahib Ji gave us that hukam, that order, that to gain liberation as Sikhs in Kaljug, no matter where you start from, one day you have to think about following the path of an Amritari, of taking Amrit, taking Khandidi Pahul. So once we do that, our life, we are reborn, so our life begins again, and we've got the opportunity of becoming Akar, becoming that form of Waheguru. And then, Hukam na kaheya jai. So if we look at this translation, sometimes when we translate Panktiyan, we translate messages from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. One type of translation is just a literal translation. You can do translations word by word. You can do translations reading the line forwards. You can do translations working backwards, because understanding Punjabi, when we speak Punjabi, sometimes in English, in Punjabi you say the words in reverse order to how you say them in English. And translating Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, or translating the messages, can be done in that way also. And then another type of translation is taking different words from different places and making sure Gurmat Ansar we're getting a message. So in this part of this line, Hukam na kaheya jai, we can take Hukam and kaheya and then na jai, so we can pair those words. So rather than reading it Hukam na kaheya jai, we pair Hukam and kaheya together, and we pair na jai together. Hukam and kaheya. So the Hukam is, if we follow that order, that will of the 10 Gurus, that command of the 10 Gurus, and now Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Hukam jo kaheya, what we've been told, then what happens? Na jai. Na means never, not happening, and jai means expand jai, and that means we will never come and go, we'll never be born again. In other words, again, we follow that command, we won't come and go, we won't be reborn in the 8.4 million cycles. We will be liberated, we will become the Akar, we will become one with Waheguru.
Hukmi hovan ji, hukum milai vadiyai.
So, Hukmi hovan ji. So, because in our previous lives, I sort of explained the karmas, of how our actions work, the three types of karam, Kiryaman karam, actions that we're doing, Sanchit karam, the ones that have been collected, and Paralabd, the ones that come with us in this life. Hukmi hovan ji, because we may have followed some command of Waheguru in our previous lives, we have been given the form of humans. Gur seva te bhagat kamai, tab eh manas dehi pai. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji says that in a previous life we will have followed, or we will have done seva of Waheguru in some way, shape or form. That's why we have been given this human form. So because we followed that hukam, we have been blessed by giving this ji, we've been given this soul, hukam milavadiyai, we've been famed, we've been blessed by giving this human form. So because we did follow the hukam in previous lives. So the key is following the hukam in this life and taking that forward, and following the hukam in this life again to earn liberation, to become one with Waheguru.
Hukmi uttam neech, hukum lekh dokh sukh paiye.
So hukmi uttam neech. Within that order, we can do uttam, good, high actions, good karam, or we can do neech, low, bad karams, bad actions. So that is all within that hukam. Some people do good actions, and some people do bad actions, and some people do both types of actions. We've got to think in our own lives, what type of actions do we do? Do we do good actions? Do we do bad actions? Are our actions hurtful to others? Are they hurtful ultimately to Waheguru? Even though Waheguru doesn't feel any pain, in our minds, we should think over what type of actions we do. Those actions again though are in that hukam, because whatever we do, they get collected and then they get put in the paralabd, which will come with us in future. Hukam lik, dukh sukh paiye hai. So they get written, hukam lik. So with that command, those actions get written. Dukh sukh paiye hai, dukh, pains, sukh, happiness paiye hai. We will gain dukh and sukh from those actions that we do. At the same time, Sadguru Sahib Ji blesses us, those who follow the hukam from neech actions, they start doing uttam actions. So they start from bad, they become good. Hukami uttam neech. So from neech they become good. And some people who don't follow the hukam, they become from uttam, they become neech. Because we all start with uttam. Like I said, we've all been given a human form. So we must have started with uttam, good actions, to be given this chance, but then we lose that and start doing bad actions in this life. There's a Sakhi from the time of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji from Khadur Sahib. Now, in Khadur Sahib, there's Bani written in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji about the fame of Guru Ka Langar and how kheer is special in Guru Ka Langar. And there's a Sakhi of a Sikh who came to Khadur Sahib. He came to Khadur Sahib and he spent his time there, and he would constantly eat kheer. And he would eat kheer in the morning, he would go and eat kheer in the langar. When it was lunchtime, he'd go and eat kheer. When it was evening time, he'd go and eat kheer. And he would constantly eat loads of kheer. At the same time, he wouldn't necessarily do any seva in the langar or in and around that area. He stayed there, he was living there, in the quarters. And he would just continually eat kheer. Now some of the Sikhs at that time saw this and they thought, well, he's constantly eating kheer. Surely if we're constantly eating in the langar, we should be doing some of the other commands of Waheguru and doing some seva, doing some simran. And they approached Baba Buddha Sahib Ji, those Sikhs, and said that this Sikh has turned up, he's been living here and he just constantly eats from the langar, but he doesn't do any seva. And Baba Buddha Sahib Ji and the Sikhs, the sangat, did benti to him and said, look, fine, Guru Ka Langar is for everybody, but since you're staying here, maybe you should do a bit more seva and play your part. And that Sikh said to Baba Buddha Sahib Ji and the sangat that you are just the Sikhs. I'm waiting for Guru Sahib Ji themselves to give me a command. When Guru Sahib Ji themselves give me a command, then I will do what they say. I will follow their hukam. If they haven't come and told me to do any seva, then I'm happy just waiting for them and eating in the langar every day. So the sangat, showing their humbleness and nimrata, they didn't say anything else to them. And that Sikh stayed there for many, many months, eating in the langar, eating the kheer and not doing any seva. One day, Sadguru Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji came down and were present in the langar as Sikhs came from all over to partake in it. And that Sikh came out of his quarters when he heard the bell for the langar. In India, they would ring a bell or they would make an announcement that the langar is ready. He came out and by chance, or let's say by the hukam of Waheguru, by the hukam of Guruji themselves, he came across Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji. And Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji asked him, Gur Sikha, what are you doing? How long have you been staying here? I've never met you before. He says, I've been here for many months now. I've been here being part of the langar, and Guruji, the knower of everything, asked him, are you just here to eat the langar? Or do you partake in any seva? What's your jummewari? What's your duty? What do you do here? And the Sikh goes, well, some of your Sikhs told me to do some seva, but I felt that I was hoping to be blessed by you, Guruji, and you telling me yourself, you giving me a command, you telling me to do something. Sadguru Sahib Ji said, eating langar is part of my hukam. Pehle pangat, piche sangat. First we do pangati in the langar, then we do Saad sangat. But at the same time, my command is also to do Saad sangat. And it's also to do seva. And the teachings of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, Naam japo, vand ke shako, kirt karo, live an honest life, share your wealth. So, have you been doing any of those? The Sikh replied, no, I haven't. I was waiting for you out of your own mouth to command me. So Guru Sahib Ji said, okay, the meaning of life is liberation. I will give you everything. You've been waiting for me to give you something. I will give you everything. I will give you liberation. What I would like you to do is I would like you to go outside of the village, light a fire, and I would like you to sit in the fire, and as you will be cremated, let's say, as you will be burnt, you will gain liberation. You will become one with Waheguru. All your desires will be quenched. you will finish from the 8.4 million lives. Now, just like if I would be put in that position, if I was told by anybody to light a fire and sit in the fire, I would personally get really scared. And that's what happened to the Sikh. He started questioning. He thought, it's a bad day this morning. I was waiting for Guruji to tell me something, but they've now told me to go into the fire. I've still got a long life to live. I don't want to die yet. And those Panch Chor that we've talked about, Kaam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar, came into his mind. He had Hankar for his life. He had ego for his life. He had a bit of Krodh. His anger at Guruji for giving him that kind of command. He had desires in the world still. He had more with the world. And he had greed in the world. So those 5 thieves came and clouded his mind. But as Guruji instructed, after eating the langar, he went outside of the village and he went, lit up a fire. And he spent hours there walking around the fire, thinking, how can I jump into this fire? How can I sit in this? Guruji has given me a very hard command, very hard order to follow. At the same time, in an adjoining village, another person called Mehra was like a burglar. He would steal things from houses and he would go and sell them. He, from an adjoining village, was escaping the villagers of that village, chasing him because he'd just burgled somebody's house. And he was running through the place where this Sikh was sat with the fire lit. When he got there, he says, what are you doing? You've got this fire that you're walking around, and at the same time the Sikh asked Mehra that, what are you doing? You run away. They shared their stories with each other. Mehra said, I'm running away, I'm a burglar. This time I've never been caught, but this time the villagers have found out I'm getting chased. Surely, they will beat me to death because there have been many burglaries in that area. I've done them. And at the same time the Sikh goes, well, you've got nothing to worry about really. I've been told to sit in this fire. Mehra asked the Sikh, he said, who told you to sit in the fire? He said, Sadguru, Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji themselves told me. So Mehra says, you do an ardas for me and I will sit in the fire for you. You do an ardas to say that order, that command that Sadguru Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji has given to you, that you cannot complete it and you have passed that order on to me. And what I will do, I will give you this bag full of stolen goods and you take hold of these, and there's loads of pots and pans and gold in these. You can sell them and your family, you'll be rich and your grandkids will be rich. But you need to do that ardas and pass that command on to me. So that Sikh, because the 5 chores had clouded his mind, did that ardas. As the ardas was complete, Nanak naam chardi kala tere paane sarbat da pala, Mehra gave the stolen goods, put them into his hands, and Mehra went and jumped into the fire. At the same time, the villagers had reached that point who were chasing Mehra, and they saw that Sikh there who would eat the kheer, who would eat the langar, would not do any seva, would not partake in any sangat, would not follow the command. They reached him and they thought he was the thief. They caught him, dragged him, and as the Sakhi goes, they beat him to his death. At the same time, Mehra, other scholars say that Mehra actually didn't burn alive in that fire. He came out of that fire and he went to Sadguru Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji and he fell in their charan, he fell at their feet, he begged for forgiveness and he became a Guru Ka Sikh. And it was said, again, I've mentioned before other Sikhs, it was said that he would do 21 Japji Sahib part from that day on. It seems in the first few Gurus' times that many Sikhs would do 21 Japji Sahib part, until obviously the Nitnem was set in stone of Panjbani in the morning, Sampurna Rahra Sahib in the evening, and Kirtan Soila before we go to sleep. Before that time, many Sikhs would do a lot of Japji Sahib part. So, taking this in a deeper level, although Guruji's command, Hukmi Uttam Neej, people do good actions and bad actions, we can also take this as saying, Hukmi Uttam Neej, from good actions, depending on our actions, the order of Waheguru, we can become Uttam souls, where we came into this world, and we can become Neej. From good actions, we start doing bad actions, and from bad actions, we start doing good actions just like Mehra did. Now, there were just 2 points I want to make on the Sakhiyan, because when we're young and from this country and from what society tells us, some of these Sakhiyan you could think, well, how could a person sit in a fire and then come out alive again? There are many Sakhiyan like this where Guruji didn't really perform miracles. They lived in the order of Waheguru to teach the future generations that the power of Waheguru is the greatest of all. Just one small example is the time when Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji called for the Panch Pyare of Vaisakhi and actually took their heads off before joining them back again on different bodies to create the Panch Pyare and formalize the Khalsa Panth. Now, these days we get questions about that Guru Sahib Ji cut Bakre. He didn't cut the Panch Pyare themselves. So, if we don't have the Shraddha and believe Guru Sahib Ji and Akal Purkh Waheguru has that power, that account was witnessed by a spy from Aurangzeb who was a Mughal. Obviously, he was a Muslim, and he wrote that account down that actually Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji cut the heads of the Panch Pyare and then put them together on different bodies. So, whether we believe it or not ourselves, we've got an account from the enemies, let's say, or the Virodhis of the Sikhs of that time to say that Guruji actually cut those heads. So if Guru Sahib Ji can cut those heads and bring back that life, then all these other Sakhiyan, like this Sakhi today, in Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji's times, they could obviously happen as well. And people like Baba Deep Singh can fight with their head held in their hand. People like Bhai Taru Singh can stay alive for many days with their khopri, with their scalp taken off. People like Bhai Mani Singh can have their bandha katte, small parts of their body cut off, and they can still be reciting Sukhmani Sahib da Path, Japji Sahib da Path, like many good Sikhs did. Japji Sahib and Sukhmani Sahib, they would be recited out of their body even though they were getting shaheed. So that was one point I wanted to clarify. Although these Sakhiyan, for some of us, we might find them difficult to believe. There are many witness accounts from the Mughals, the Musliman, who were the Sikhs' enemies at the time, to say these actually happened. If they can say they happened, there's no reason why we as Sikhs need to question these Sakhiyan. And then the second point I would like to sort of make, there's been a couple of Sakhiyan where the Sikhs are doing 21 Japji Sahib de Path. Some people might say, what's the point doing so many Paths, so many, Japji Sahibs, or so many Sukhmani Sahibs, or so many Chaupi Sahibs? What's the point of that? We're doing it parrot fashion. As we read through and as we learn about Guru Sahib Ji's teachings in Japji Sahib, we'll understand that actually there is a benefit of that. But I would just like to add that when we're told to recite the name of Waheguru Mantar, we don't just say that once, we continue to repeat that. Another form of that naam is Gurbani. So Japji Sahib is in that. So if you repeat that many times over in a day, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's the same principle. Sahib Mera Neet Nawal Sada Sada Datar. Sahib Mera Neet Nawal. Guru Sahib Ji says in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji that each time we do their darshan, we see them, we read their Bani, they give us a different experience. Sada Sada Datar, they give us different things. So there is a benefit of reading many times over. Just like we do Waheguru many times over, we can recite the Mool Mantar many times over. We can do Japji Sahib, Chaupi Sahib, Sukhmani Sahib, any Bani we want, many times over. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So Hukmi Uttam Neej, from good actions, in their order, people can be turned to doing bad actions, and vice versa, like Mehra, from bad actions, he started doing positive actions. Hukam Lik, Dukh Sukh Paiya hai, and from following that order, from doing good actions or bad actions, Hukam Lik, it's written that we find Dukh or Sukh, and that's what we find. Another quick Sakhi that just popped into my mind, same time of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji, there was a person called Maluke Chaudhary. Now Maluke used to have a lot of fits or epilepsy, and he would always have fits constantly. In Punjabi they call it Mirgi di Bimari. And one time he came to Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji's court, and his family members said that he has this Bimari and we need him to stop. We're worried that he might die one day from it. Sadhguru Sahib Ji said, Maluke, you drink sharab, you drink alcohol. You stop the alcohol, this Bimari will never come close to you. So he stopped drinking it. For 8 years he didn't drink alcohol. 8 years. He never had a fit within that 8 years. Because he followed that hukam, that command that Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji gave him. However, again, like I said from the previous part, from Uttam and Neej, from doing good actions, From doing bad actions, he started doing good actions. And now from the good actions, after 8 years, he started drinking sharab again. He started taking alcohol. He went away from that command. What happened to him? When Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji found out about this, he said, I gave that command that if he stopped drinking alcohol, this bamari will stay, this disease will stay away from him. Now he started drinking that alcohol. That disease will obviously going to come back and he will lose his life from it. And as it happened, he lost his life because Guru Sahib Ji gave the command 8 years previous that if he stopped drinking alcohol, the bamari will never come close and he will live a long life, he will be liberated. But after 8 years, he thought, well, everything's fine now. He started drinking again and the bamari, the disease came back and he lost his life over it. So that's a teaching to us. There's a few teachings there that if we follow the command of Waheguru, we will gain sukh. We will gain a lot of blessings. If we don't follow the command, then things that happen in our life, different things that stop us from doing what we want, in our life, hurdles that come up, that's possibly because we're not following the command. And if we followed the command, maybe those hurdles will be taken away, just like Sadhguru Sahib Ji did. And then the second message there is obviously Maluke was taking alcohol. So it's a message to us all. The younger ones, as we grow older in society, we learn a lot of things about different types of intoxications. We should stay away from these because these are what bring diseases to our bodies. This is what will end our life one day. Just an aside, the Sikh community has the highest death rate in proportion to their population in this country, has the highest death rate due to alcohol. We have a low percentage, but the proportion of people who die from alcohol is massive in our Sikh community. So a message to everybody there, the younger ones who haven't gone near it yet, Guruji Kirpa Kare that you never go near it. And those of us that may have members or may know, maybe we should be telling them this Sakhi when we go away today, that if we follow that command, Guru Sahib Ji will take away all our hurdles, he will liberate us. If we don't, then who knows what is to come. Hukam, lik, dukh, sukh paiye hai. Following that command, we will gain dukh or we will gain sukh.
Ek na hukmi bakhsis, ek hukmi sada pavaiye hai.
So, ikna hukmi bakhsi. So if you follow that command, ikna, that person, those people, bakhsis, we will get bakshish, we will get blessed. Ik hukmi sada pavaiye hai. But within that hukam, if we start doing bad actions, sada pavaiye hai, forever pavaiye hai, we will be in the 8.4 million lives, constantly coming back and forth. Now for materialistic people, that might seem good, because you might feel that we're living this life, we're gaining a lot of materialistic things, but those materialistic things, as I explained, are from good actions. When our good actions that are collected run out, then we will get a lot more hurdles. Those materials will be hard to come by, and we won't find peace, and we'll be constantly back and forth in the 8.4 million lives. So hukum hai andar sabko, hukum hai andar, within hukam, andar is within this command, sabko, everybody is within this hukam. There's no way out of this hukam, because depending on our actions, the actions we do daily, the kiryaman actions, they get collected into sanchit actions, then they get given to us in this life, and if we have to come back, hopefully we don't, they will come as a paralabd. We are all in that command of how this works. Bahar hukam na koi, there's nobody outside of this. Bahar outside, nobody outside of this hukam na koi, nobody outside of that order.
Nanak hukum hai je bujja ta hauma kahe na koi.
So what is the key? Sadhguru Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji told the Siddhs and is now telling us in the second body of Japji Sahib. Hukum hai je bujja. Bujja means to understand, to follow. Hukum hai je bujja. Those who understand and then follow the hukam, Sadhguru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is telling us, those people, ta home kahe na koi, they never speak in any home, they lose their home, they lose, the 5 chores are in their control, they have become one with Waheguru, they are liberated because they don't speak another word with homme, with ego, because they've understood that hukam, they've followed that hukam, they realize about their actions, they realize that they have to understand with good and bad things will happen in this life due to their previous actions. They stay in the middle of those, they follow the hukam, and Guru Sahib Ji blesses them. They find Waheguru while they are living, so they can experience Waheguru while they're still alive, and when this life is taken away, when this body is taken away, they are immersed in that ocean as we've described it in the past. They become pure, they become one with Waheguru. So Sadguru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji gave this teaching this week, this time, that they, at the start they said hukam is infinite. We can never really say or describe its limits. However, we can understand some things from the hukam and how that they are linked to our actions. And depending on our actions, the hukam is written, and that is what is coming. Another translation for hukam is Waheguru themselves. So we can think about each of these lines and each of these messages of Waheguru themselves, because the order of Waheguru, because it comes from Waheguru, can be Waheguru. So Waheguru does all this for us. So that's another translation for hukam. So that was the message this week. Next week's the Siddhs, understanding about the hukam, start asking about different qualities, looking at Waheguru's strengths, looking at what they give to people, looking at what their gun, their characteristics are. They're the questions that the Siddhs are going to ask Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji next time round. Giving this discourse, trying to translate Japji Sahib. Obviously, I am not what they call a Brahmagyani, who has a complete knowledge of Waheguru. I am doing this from what I understand, what I've learnt, and I'm passing this message on to you. If I've offended anybody, or if I've hurt anybody's feelings, I apologise wholeheartedly. I'm just trying to share the message of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji using the Sakhiya of the 10 Gurus, and hopefully, not just me, but all of us, we can find Gursikhi, we can all learn to understand and then to follow the hukam. Only Guru Sahib Ji can bless us with that, and you can bless me that I can continue delivering this and learning together. Deho sajana sishriya jo hova sahib so mel,
ਹੁਕਮ
andar sab ko bahar hukam na koe, nanak hukm je pujjai ta hum kah na koe. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.